So around 2009, a term was coined to describe the popularity and success of three notable manga: Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. Around that time in Japan, the manga for Naruto was doing the Pain arc, and maybe a little bit after that. For Bleach, it was the Espada arc, and a little bit after that as well. And with One Piece, it was doing some of the Archipelago as well as Impel Down. At that time, those three manga were truly the most popular in Japan. No other manga could possibly rival them. They were just top of the game. It was usually always One Piece on top, and then Naruto and Bleach fighting for number 2 and 3. And for the most part, that was it. That was the big three. That was the manga that dominated all other mangas in sales, and people just were like, yo, this is it, they're the big three. But after 2009, around 2010, late 2010, that term kind of didn't fit it anymore, because first of all, Bleach entered an arc that was not really praised by fans very well. It wasn't received very well. It was the Fullbring arc, and at that particular point, sales for Bleach had begun to drop, as well as the rankings and the Shonen Jump rankings for Bleach as well. To put it into perspective, around 2009, Bleach was like 80% of the time in the top 5, top 3 in the rankings, and 2010 it started to drop to like, 60%, and then so on and so forth. It kept on dipping throughout the years. While One Piece continued to increase in popularity in sales and rankings, it actually got even bigger, and in 2010 it entered the new world and started a new arc. It started the Fishman Island stuff, and everybody was just going crazy. Sales for One Piece continued to increase, as well as its popularity. For Naruto, it wasn't until around 2011 where rankings and sales for it started to dip slightly, because of the fact that it continued on in this arc that at the beginning wasn't really well received, and for the most part there's mixed reviews regarding the arc, the Fourth Great Shinobi War. For the most part, from 2010 onward, it started to decrease in the rankings, and it went from always being number 1 or number 2 to sometimes it could be out of the top 5, even top 10. And that's where I gotta say that definitely the big three is pretty much, you can say, broken, and it needs to be replaced for a new title or something for the new popular manga, because as far as Japan goes, it hasn't been the big three for actually quite some time. Even though it feels as though that will always be truly the big three for us, the fact of the matter is, at this particular point, it's pretty much One Piece at the top, and Naruto and Bleach kind of just fluctuated, with more so Bleach diving, and pretty much after its anime being canceled, the sales and rankings have continued to drop, while, One Piece stays strong, and Naruto just kind of fluctuates there, because it still has its anime and it still has its success and notoriety, but it just isn't really what it used to be. Come 2013, it's pretty much now a new manga, Attack on Titan, as some of you may know and love. It's pretty much something that is possibly, I would say, in the big three, or at least in the top 2, because it's pretty much now sales for Attack on Titan, One Piece, and then everything below. Every week, Attack on Titan, not only in Japan, but as well as in English-speaking countries as well, continues to dominate. And pretty much to this day now, I would say in 2013, in this day and age, the new thing would probably be the big two. It would be One Piece and Attack on Titan. There are other manga that have tried and, not really succeeded as far as trying to take that third slot. Right now, the one that is trying, I would say, is definitely Manga, because it's doing very well. It went from selling 40,000 copies to now, in 2 weeks, it sold almost 500,000 copies with its latest volume. So there are manga that have tried, but it just no manga has stuck as of yet. Again, Magi could be a possibility, but there are other manga that have tried, like, Hitman Reborn tried, but it came and went. Fairy Tail, at this point, I think it tried, and the anime left, but it's coming back, but I don't think at this point that Fairy Tail just would have the power to take over as part of the big three. I could be completely wrong, but as of right now, I definitely say that Fairy Tail will probably not be a part of the big three, at least for the foreseeable future. And then as well as Toriko has tried, especially in Japan, and it's pretty much never really gravitated to that point where it's just like, massive. While the anime actually is doing pretty well, but mainly a lot of people speculate that's due to it airing directly after One Piece. Toriko airs in Japan, so a lot of people say that, and as well as manga volume sales haven't been up to the expectations of what it should be, when considering it had, 4 crossovers with One Piece and a crossover with Dragon Ball Z and One Piece. And the fact of the matter is, it's still being outsold by series like Bleach and even Magi and tons of other different series as well. So a lot of people speculate that, these series, they came and they tried, but they just really haven't succeeded, and they might still be trying. There's still a possibility that one day Toriko or any of these other series could be a part of the big three, but as of right now, the big two is definitely Attack on Titan and One Piece, with Attack on Titan being a monthly series and selling very well, and One Piece just being ongoing. And to put it into perspective for the American market, it was recently revealed that Attack on Titan has printed 500,000, 500,000 copies in English thus far, and that's with only 7 volumes out, no anime on air, and I'm talking about the American market again. There's no anime on the air as of yet, and there's only 7 volumes. So for it to do that in a market where pretty much anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 copies is considered a success in a manga title's lifespan, that is actually humongous. And manga just doesn't sell the way it used to. In 2008, Tite Kubo's Bleach printed 1.2 million copies, pretty much getting Kubo to come down here to America because the manga was so big. But that was with 22 volumes printed as well as an anime on air. So you compare the two, 500,000 with no anime on air, only 7 volumes, and definitely I feel as though Attack on Titan, not only does it, seem as though it's okay, part of the new big two, but I feel as though it just reassures me and gives me hope that the manga market in general, whether it be in Japan or America, can definitely uprise and start anew. And I think that now is the moment where manga and anime can really just try once again to get that big bang, because with something like that being possible, doing 500,000 with 7 volumes, no anime on air, no history, it really speaks volumes of what can be done. And those sales are only going to continue once they put the anime out over here. Hopefully they do it on the right network and whatnot. But it just really shows that at the end of the day, yeah, the big three is pretty much no more, especially, in America and Japan. In America, I would say the big three right now would definitely be Naruto, Attack on Titan, and Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon has finished its run once again. They did, republishing of the volumes and whatnot. So it finished its run, but I don't see any other manga at the moment, like, pretty much taking for that 3rd slot, because I've seen sales of manga, I believe it was like half a year ago, so they showed a couple different weeks of the sales for manga, and I've seen one of the newest volumes of Bleach selling 500 copies in its first week. Only 500, and that's definitely a testament to where the popularity is at as far as sales go in manga and anime. Bleach still being one of the big hitters over here, for it to sell only 500 copies in its first week, and I'm sure it went on to sell a few thousand. Nonetheless, that's not that good of a statement for that, and I definitely say that as of once Sailor Moon ends, it'll be probably for America, Attack on Titan, Naruto, and then Bleach still there, but just not with that same allure that it had, for many years before this. And as far as Japan goes, I'll definitely say it's One Piece and Attack on Titan, with other manga constantly fighting for that 3rd slot. Again, Magi, Toriko, Fairy Tail. So yeah, I definitely say the big three, it's broken and it needs to be reborn and made something else. You could pretty much say it's either the big two or just, there's popular manga, because at the end of the day, right now, it is no longer Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. As much as we love and enjoy these series, it just really isn't. So I just really wanted to throw this video out there, give you guys the facts of what is really going on, what are some of the biggest series out there right now, and what the manga market is looking like in Japan and America. Right now, things are looking up for America and, English-speaking countries in general, where series like Attack on Titan are doing 500,000 with only 7 volumes and no anime on TV. But the question I want to ask you guys is, what is your big three? Because I think at this particular point, the big three is what you make it, whether it's your 3 favorite manga, whether it's the 3 that are, what you consider the best or whatnot, because at this point, the big three is broken, and I think that it just makes sense to say the big three is what you make it. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't rank manga based on sales and whatnot. It should be because of your preference and what you really enjoy and what you love. That's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up for your big three, because at the end of the day, it's what you make it. For Networld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.